Hello, good morning. Welcome into another episode of Good Morning Nasdaq right here on the Clover Trading YouTube channel. It is 8:58 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 19th day of December, year of our Lord 2025. Kyle Williams joining me today from somewhere in Tejas,
Hello, good morning.
which means what? It's 7:58 for you?
Yes, this is.
Hey, not that early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, sorry, I don't have a very exciting, fun intro for you. We were just talking depressing talk. We start every time I'm sitting here waiting for either Huddy or Kyle to show up. Then they show up, and then we talk for a minute. And it was just about how bad the market is and how bored we are and what is this going to look like? And the real short, honest answer is we have no idea. Um, Kyle's in the midst of a drawdown. I've been doing a whole lot of nothing. And we're both just kind of like, should we just call it for the year? Call it a 2025 and we'll check in on 2026. Obviously, won't do that to you folks out there. We'll be here every day talking about it. But, market's been basically sideways. It's up near the highs, but it is pretty much been sideways in terms of not really making new highs and grinding higher since mid-October. And I think when studying for that Qualmagi stuff, you go through, you look at stretches like that when you're studying history, and even if the market isn't like in a recession or in bearish, like just pulling back, like early 2025, it can kind of still kill any momentum because the momentum doesn't get going.
Yeah.
Every break attempt fails, then we pull back, and even if it's setting a base here that is like reasonable, like with any given week, it could break out over the highs. If you don't get those multiple, I think what you've had a lot of is entries. They look good for a little bit and then stop out immediately, and it's like you can't get to that next phase where it's like guaranteed profit, or that phase where we guarantee momentum when we get some runners.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on all that?
It's um it's quite disappointing how much mid and large cap. I mean small cap stocks are a little bit separate and unrelated, but it's disappointing how much mid and large caps need from the overall markets to like perform well. Because if someone wasn't like in the pits or in the trenches, and they just if you just showed a complete random person on the street that roughly understands the stock chart and just look and shows them the Nasdaq or shows them the S&P 500, they're gonna be like, yeah, it looks fine. They're like, yeah, it's not even 3% off the highs or 5%. Like this looks is healthy, nothing crazy. But then you're in the trenches and you look at things that are supposed to be running or have ran in the past or should be following the markets, and it's like, why are we 30% of the highs? Why are we failing every pop? Um, so it's, I say disappointing is the word, where it's like, man, everything else just seems awful. The only strong bull run that I see anywhere is silver and gold. Everything else is just dull or depressing. And then even small caps, which is, totally uncorrelated, but it just not totally uncorrelated, but much more uncorrelated than mid or large cap. Yeah, we're just not getting any really solid patterns out there. Again, maybe a few decent runners here and there. We had beat. Some people got the wheat stocks right, but I don't know. We just ever since BYND in October, we've just been kind of in a dry spell a little bit. At least I have been. And I'm not asking runners to be as good as BYND. BYND is the runner of, a runner of every 6 to 12 months. But there's plenty of runners that are like, second tier to BYND that can happen once a month, and we're just not even getting those. So it's just disappointing. A little bit depressing for sure.
It's kind of crazy when you look at daily charts and you realize that every little candle is a day of your life that we sat here, and to see that BYND looks so far away from where we are right now, to know that we've done a whole lot of nothing. I'm not going to sit here and be gloomy and say that there have not been opportunities in the day trading world to make money. We have had some decent runners. We've had, depending on your style, I think there's been ways to make money, especially on the long side. Huddy brought up DXYZ on the short side here this week. You just it's times like this, and that's why the majority of the time on webinars right now is not spent live trading, because there's not a ton to live trade, but it is spent on what you like, the margin for error right now, and how you should be approaching this current market. Because I'm a firm believer that you should be able, if you're a dedicated, experienced, high quality with a good edge trader, like in these last few months, there's definitely been enough setups to be profitable. I wouldn't go as far to say like you should be breaking records or making 30 or 40 R in a month, but there, you don't, it's not a guaranteed thing that you have to just draw down because the overall market is slow. And,
Right.
I'm eking out little by little. Last month was one of the smallest green months of my year. This month is a little bit bigger right now, just because we had SMX, which was one play that basically is what I'm up on the month. You have to just get really good at sitting here and doing nothing with your, you should be sitting here studying, but sitting here pushing buttons. Like, I know that Kyle hasn't taken very many day trades as a whole. I'm probably averaging 3 or 4 a week, or even just 1 or 2 stocks, maybe a couple attempts on the same stocks. But the volume's just not there. The momentum's not there. We'll talk through gappers here in a second, but the biggest gapper I see is a 18-cent stock up 75%. And then the next biggest one is 36. That's a far cry from where we were months ago, where we had multiple 100% plus gappers, right? It's the environment right now. Something me and Kyle talked about. It's also the time of the year. Like, if things are rolling and there's momentum and the markets are cruising in December, like the holidays don't throw too much of a wrench in it. But if you are, the market is confused. There's not a lot of certainty. There's not a lot of momentum and hype. These slow periods, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, are probably just going to be more of the same. I just don't really see a reason why they would get improved. The conditions will improve at this time. And all that to say, patience is key right now. I think this is a great time to start learning how to trade, because sometimes I think when people jump in like 2020, 2021, you learn a ton of bad habits. You probably make some money that you don't deserve. And then you might be screwed for a lot longer of a period, like a year or two, for trying to fix those habits and realize what you did was not the proper way to go about doing things in most markets. Learning right now is a really good time to focus on discipline, having the patience for plays that do fit criteria, because they're out there, right? SMX was a phenomenal breakout, phenomenal move. If you're a day one longer, there was a ton of low float garbage moving over the past few weeks. If you're a first red day shorter, there was DXYZ. We have our IRBT ran for multiple days. What was the one? BEAT was a semi-decent trade over the past few days as well. So there is plays. It's just, in a good market, maybe out of every 10 trades, you're taking a couple unnecessary ones, but you're making so much because there's more opportunities that are working that you don't necessarily see the bad habits. Right now, if you miss a good trade and you're also forcing unnecessary trades, you're going to feel it. You're going to see it in your data, and it's going to hurt. And the margin for error is just smaller right now. It's already small in a game this difficult. But in market conditions like this, you can't be the person saying, oh, the market sucks, the market's slow, but then going out there and pressing 5 buttons a day. I just don't think that is realistic. And we can sit here and be frustrated by it, but we know it will change, whether it's January 1st, whether it's Christmas Eve, whether it's in February. It will change. Are you going to be ready for it? Are you prepared for it? Have you studied enough charts? Are you ready to maximize? And that is the question for everyone, because are we going to be sitting here in a couple months talking about how great this run was of a month or two, and you're going to be sitting there going, oh, I'm barely back to where I was before the drawdown? And are you doing enough work right now when it's slow to prepare you for that time, when and whenever it comes?
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple people in the chat. Make sure you're going ahead hitting that thumbs up button for us. Just want to get that morning rant out of the way, because there's not really a ton of stocks to talk about. I see a couple people bringing up some tickers. We'll talk about those. Wayne's asking for the market to get more exciting. Drummer Max says it's looking slow out there. A couple people talking about AMCI. Is it a breakout? Is it a reversal? I think technically it's a reversal based on the criteria. My daily chart on E-Trade has not been right on this, but I think yesterday it technically closed red, even by like 0.5% or something. Kind of a tricky one, because it is decently off the highs, but it is such a fast mover that I could see this bouncing back into the 13, 14, 15 area quite quickly. It did try to bounce yesterday in the afternoon, but if you're going off Grotani standards for reversals, it doesn't care too much about that. It's more about how many days does it close red. So technically still on watch for reversal. If you're kind of early and thinking 50% from the breakout level is not that far, it's probably a world where it could still break out. But you also have to weigh in everything we just said about momentum and be like, is this the type of environment that happens in? Maybe a short squeeze type of thing happens on lower volume and you still get a phenomenal move. But that's one of the only charts in play this week or towards the end of this week. Sly Cosun says, it looks like I'm going to have my second green month this month before it looked like a Christmas tree. Do you recommend scaling next month or having 3 months of green? Any advice? My second green month. Does that mean like 2 green months in a row?
Yeah. That's cool. We could just trade money. I'm gonna have my second red month in a row. So,
do you recommend scaling next month? I think there's more context needed for that.
yeah.
I just don't think this is the environment where doing. It's just like I think most people should have far fewer trades taken in this last month in November and December than they normally do, and so basing any information off of that data, I think, is a little foolish because it's just not a traditional average market, and because of that, like, you could have gotten lucky in one way or the other. You could have avoided some trades that would have been losers. You could have, just absolutely nailed the one play that worked, and maybe you wouldn't if there was more opportunities out there. For me, it's just I don't make a ton of decisions off of markets like this. I try to stay cool, calm, and collective and steady. Like, I'd want to be steady with my size, and I would keep doing. If I notice that everyone's red and I'm green 2 months in a row, that's not the time to like maximize. That's the time to just keep doing what I'm doing. Is kind of the way I would approach it.
Yeah, I would be cautionary because it's not like everyone has to make money around you for the push size, but yeah, I don't know a single person like Sly. You're the first person I'm hearing that's doing good. Like I know they're out there, but I have not really talked to many traders who are like, yeah, I'm crushing it the last 8 weeks, the last 4 weeks, the last 2 weeks. Um, and that's more of a market environment sentiment, but even from a personal sentiment and stats, if over the last 2 months your account grew significantly enough, then you should already statistically know how much you should size up or not, right? Like if you're risking 1% of your account, or you have some kind of percentage of your account method on your risk, well, if you doubled your account, does that mean your risk doubles? Like, are you comfortable with that? Is that how that works for you? Um, because you could say green months, but if 2 green months are vastly different from having, let's say you have a 10K account and you made $100 in November and you're up $200 in December. Well, you're only up 3% of your account. That doesn't warrant really any increase in risk almost at all. And I say that because a lot of traders make the mistake of, even irrelevant if their months are big profitable or small profitable, when it comes to sizing up, they think doubling their risk. Like they're I don't know why we do this as human beings, because I'm guilty as well as times. No one thinks of small increments when it comes to risk. I don't know why. Um, you have to like consciously make an effort of like, if I'm going to increase my risk, it's going to be almost unnoticeable. Like if I'm risking $50, I'm going to go risk $60 next month, or 55, right? And again, if your 10K account went to 1000, or if your 10K account went from 10,000 to 10,300 over 2 months, like, sure, you can increase your risk by $3 if that's the percentage. But it's like, yeah. And then again, you add on what me and Dom just said about market environment, and it's like, signs lead to probably not. Now vice versa, if you doubled your account, if you just crushed it from 10K to 20K, and now your risk could be from $100 to $200, yeah, you could probably justify it. Be like, okay, I've done really well, let's up the risk a little bit. But we don't need to, again, double, triple. Even if you double your account, I wouldn't always be on board for doubling the risk, because that's a big jump emotionally. Like, it's great your account jumped that big, but then accepting that double of risk so soon, at least for me, I'm speaking from my personal experience, is a very tough thing to do. So, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and Matthew, someone else out there saying I was red November having the best month of the year right now in December. If this is your month, we can't speak for you. That's trading is a very personal thing, and we talk to hundreds of traders. We can't possibly know every little thing that's going on. That's why we try to teach you how to be in charge of your own trading and really understand what we do in our situations to help guide you guys when you get to certain milestones and how do you approach that. But if this is like the greatest market ever for you and short-term momentum stuff that doesn't continue, lack of plays, lack of like if that is your market and you're just killing it, maybe that could be a whole totally different discussion. So it's not a one size fits all, and it's hard to answer it without knowing. We would have to sit behind you. We'd have to know everything about you, and I don't know that. Is it worse than 2022? I think this individual time right now is like a slow period. But again, I look at like September. I think September was a high quality month. October had BYND. I think that was a high quality month with breakouts. Like we're really just looking at like a month and a half right now of truly crazy slow. It's been super choppy ever since summer, I feel like. And that's kind of reminiscent in 2022. But overall, I can't look at 2025 and say that because I think there's been enough great opportunities throughout this year that I kind of feel like if you gave us a 2025 every year and you continue to improve for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you would continue to have better and better years. And there's plenty of opportunity to make lots of money. There's plenty of people this year who are in the ballpark of risking 10 to 20K who are having $1 million plus years. So I don't think it's as bad as 2022. But you never know.
No.
I look at that and I think, well, I was 3 or 4 years ago, like my experience level was worse. My knowledge was worse. I was coming out of 2021, so my expectations were worse. You never really know 1 year off another year because it changes with what's going on in your life, what's going on in terms of your experience. It's not a one-to-one comparison. All right. Do we have at least one gapper to hit on before we leave? We can talk about PRPH real quick. Let's see here. A little cheapy up this morning from the 10-cent area up towards 20. Looks like it's a 53 million float drug manufacturer company. They don't have any money. They're burning it and they don't have any on hand. Let's see. Do they have news today?
They sign a non-binding letter of intent for proposed reverse merger with
They're
another.
reversing a merger, huh?
Yeah.
It's a reverse merger.
Biomedical company. Or biological laboratories is what's called. Advanced Biological Laboratories is the company.
Sounds nice. What about dilution here? They got some stuff from the summer pending effect at 50 cents, $11. All this stuff looks way high up. October 2025, they do have an active ATM for $4.2 million. It could come into play. They have a shelf for about $6 million. They've done some convertible stuff this year. It's kind of there, kind of small. We've only done like 130 million so far today. Chart wise, let's take a look. We have a gap and crap day back here in August, and it really wasn't even that big of a gap. 30 cents up to like 39 cents, but it did a ton of volume, 260 plus million. We have a little run back at the beginning of this year in February that did go multiple days from the 30 cent area to 70 cent area. I remember that one. It's kind of buried in resistance, whether you look at these big days or just the overall. The volume today is not that impressive yet. There's just not a ton of range here. I know you're probably not all that interested in a short due to the price being 17 cents. It's kind of a really beaten down chart, top left to bottom right. It's not really had any sustained movement. It's really just a series of lower highs across the last few years. Intraday is just kind of going sideways after that news. Looks like it. My E-Trade could be wrong, but what time was that news? Was it at 7:30? It's at 7 a.m., so I might be missing some of the initial prints here. But just kind of going sideways near the highs. At the end of the day, it's something I won't really play. There's no daily chart pattern for me, but could it become a runner, make me happy? That's what I'm wishing. I don't know if it will happen, but I don't really see a play here for me. I don't think it's up enough to really warrant a short, and it feels too random on the long side with the current market conditions we've had. I haven't really seen a ton of gappers working this week, and will it be a 17-cent stock? Prophase Labs? I'm not sure. Do you have any extra thoughts?
No, it looks like a nothing burger. As much as I've lacked the ability to just sit on my hands this week, it's been hard to do because I see setups that are worth taking and then they just don't work. But in these market environments, I really have to be pulled to really like a play, and then they're, like you said, 18 cents, gapper. It just there's nothing here that draws my attention, let alone enough to put any risk on it to then want to lose more. So, no setup for me.
Okay. Well, that is your biggest gapper of the day, guys. So get excited about it. Um, Yikes! It's just been rough out there. Let's see here if there's any other last minute questions. People talking. People talking about people. What are your thoughts, both of you, on trading between 7 a.m. and 9:30 a.m.? This area tends to be very choppy. For the entirety of my 10-year career, I have rarely ever looked at charts, the markets from 7 a.m. to 9:30. I don't even have pre-market on my charts when I show up to the market 90% of the time, unless it's like a day one gapper where they did hundreds of millions in pre-market. And that is because most of the stocks I trade don't trade in pre-market and after hours because they have been running for 3 days, 5 days a week. And the most important time that I need to be focused on them is during regular market hours. I have strategically built my systems around trading from 9:30 to 4 because of what you just said. I don't understand the price action in the morning. It's almost, to my eye and my understanding, my stupid, ignorant brain, it looks random. It looks thin and scary. And I'm not a scalper. I'm not a quick hitter type of buy dips and sell the next rip. I'm a big picture guy, and most of the time the stuff trading at 7 to 9 a.m. is stuff that just appeared on our watch list, that just came out of nowhere, that's trading decent volume, that is moving in incredible ranges. I think, the difference between like trading SMX on day one back in, let's see how many days ago it was. It's even hard to see here. But in the pre-market of like the days it went from like 5 to 50, like I just don't trade that period, but I'll trade it back here once the range is $3 to $5 a share before a big move. I've always found it's much easier for me to focus on stocks once they've already had their most choppy, scary, range-filled volatility run. And so that's when and that means most of the time I don't get to trade a lot of stocks because they don't make it to that part of the pattern. But for me, it's just I place an importance on sleep, and I'm not going to sit here at 7 a.m. and just try to gamble on what stocks are going to move with news. That's not something that I know how to do. And the answer for Kyle is probably that it is 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. that you're talking about. And I don't think that seems healthy for him.
No, it would not be for me.
Wayne says weed should heat up one of these days. I thought they all got murdered yesterday.
One of these days, yeah. I mean, have you seen the wheat stocks? They're even after yesterday's soft, they're still up. What? MSOS is still up, almost like what, 50%, 60%. They were up 100% yesterday morning. Like, what do you mean? Getting hot? They are. They are.
Yeah, we didn't have a ton of hope for that.
No.
True. People saying AZI. A couple people said it. I think that was the second biggest gapper I saw. It's up 40%, guys. Yeah, I mean, you had some increased volume at the lows. Guess you could call it like a breakout over 220s, 20 million volume already. I definitely have seen these plays work where the initial run, a lot of the breakouts I trade are off of a good initial run, something like an SMX or a beat where the run is a 1 or 2 or 3 day move and it's up 50, 100, 200%. This is really just big volume at the lows and kind of got a double top in this 226 area. And if it holds over that on massive volume, definitely could see a world where this goes up and higher. Let me just do a quick 212 check here. 2 million float, so lower float out of China. So this could be, I'd have to go back. Is it liquidation or anything? They have a $90 million initial investment at $3.50 a share. I hate when there's prices on it because I don't know enough about fundamentals to know if that means something or not. Like that's going to go to $3 and hold, but it's beaten down, choppy chart. Doesn't look too liquidation-y, but it is China, and on a Friday with nothing moving, could definitely see something like this work. It's not up enough to fit like short criteria or anything like that. But from a long perspective, I wouldn't be mad at you for calling this a multi-day breakout. It's just that the move to get us there isn't very impressive. It's 140 to 230, but a low float on a Friday from China with news could work. Not a horrible eye there. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap it up. We're going to head on out of here. I really do appreciate you guys being here during these slow times, during these slow weeks. I think this is the time that you need to focus on your trading. Like I said, you will get left behind. If you just sit here being frustrated the entire time that the market's not doing what you want it to do, it's not giving you enough opportunity, blah, 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 you're a victim loser. And I'll be straight up with you. And you will not succeed at trading, and you will not nail it when the hot market comes around. If you can't earn your stripes in markets like this, find a way to dig it out, be profitable, find a way to be uncomfortable, sit there, not take trades, be disciplined, wait for the setups that do fit your process. There's not a place for you in this game. Sorry, not sorry. We get frustrated. I get frustrated. Kyle gets frustrated. Huddie gets frustrated. You're allowed to be frustrated. But does that make you do stupid things? And if it does, you're just not going to have a very long career here. But appreciate you guys being here. We're here to help. We're here to answer questions. If you ever are considering joining Clover, we answer questions 24/7 whenever you have questions, whenever you need it. We do live webinars and we post video lessons. So that way you actually know what to do during these tough times and how to prepare yourself for the hot periods. You can get signed up over at clovertrade.io. If not, I hope you have a great weekend. We got a weekend packed full of football. I know Kyle doesn't care, but we got the playoffs. Playoffs are here. First game tonight. The Ducks will play tomorrow. So at least we got something positive to look forward to. And then we got the Christmas season. So let's all not take our stock trading into the Christmas season, and let's just be happy and grateful that we're here. We're clicking buttons, that we have an account, and really appreciate Kyle being here today. Hope everyone has a great day, a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday morning.
Have a good week.